January 23rd. It's my understanding that the petitioner is on the line.
Through the chair, yes, it appears as though the petitioner is online.
Would you like to speak to this petition, Mr. Diaz?
Mr. Diaz, I have a
Hey,
in case you
we made it. I just started the stream.
Yeah, so
They just approved the minutes.
the name is Danny Diaz. So I just
Let's see. I haven't even read the agenda for this one yet. So
Just to
I gotta do
you know that recruitment's always an issue.
This item,
especially,
I'm actually kind of
nowadays in
fascinated by.
policing. I think
It's,
everywhere there's struggles everywhere with
I gotta
recruitment.
turn this down a little bit.
I just think that raising the age limit from 32 to 38 will open up a new pool of candidates for Worcester Police. And
Yeah, it will be interesting to hear how they think about this.
You know,
I think I
open up
shared
a
with
pool
you a
for
while back, Bill.
recruitment,
This
a
is
whole
something that
nother pool for recruitment
I know,
for
like the
people to have
biggest
an opportunity,
push has been with the
to become
Garda in
officers
Ireland.
in the city.
They've raised their recruitment age up into depending on the area, into the 40s.
Oh, really?
But what they're finding is that like all their
I agree
applicants
with
are like
Mr.
former
Diaz.
teachers,
I think we should
like
higher
therapists,
the
like
age
people, like they're
from
academics and whatnot.
31.
Like they're
Would be nice to have
people
some
with actual
mature
life experience.
Officers come through the
Huh.
academy, especially people who went through from high school to military, and now they want to become police officers, and that'll be a way of doing it.
Then, do we have
You would think with Kate being an expert on all things
Thank you,
Irish
Madam
history,
Chair.
that
Just-
she'd
just
be aware
something that I thought
of
of
something they
while
did
we're
last
having
week.
this discussion. If somebody currently, through the chair to the chief, if somebody currently is a lateral hire from another department, they could be over 31 years of age, and you would take them because they started at the younger age anyways. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that's correct.
So
But it's still civil service, so they have to be in a civil service department. They would have had to take
Let's
an
see.
exam for Worcester.
See what we got on here.
To lateral through.
no, and I appreciate. I guess what I
After this, we
trying
have
to
two
do,
items:
the
firearm
message I'm
seized
trying to kind of
and gun
send out
trafficking.
there is, it sounds
statistics.
like we've hired people before.
These reports
that
are
have been over
pretty interesting.
31 years of age, so this doesn't seem to me to be that dramatic of a change, which is good.
Yeah, for the Garda, they're up to 50 years old now.
Matter of fact, when I came on in '94,
Wow.
the age was lifted.
What's the Irish police called?
and
The
then
Garda?
went back down.
Garda?
Year,
Oh,
and went back down, but I think it's
It's,
a good idea. Boston.
I thought that's something you get
30 days is
if you
30
drink
days.
dirty water.
Thank you.
I think there's an I in there for that one.
anybody
you
in the
already up?
audience?
So yes, so
Garda.
again, Rick Cipro, president of
Yes.
Police Officials Local 504, 30-year police officer here in the city. I too support this, but I'd actually I think it should be amended to 40 years old.
Wow.
Because especially as the chief had mentioned, veterans coming out of military service. So, yep, you look at 20 years, that'd make them 38 years old.
You know,
but many
and
times
this is
they
the
do
thing that,
20,
like,
22 years of service. So
there's
I
just
think
like a stone
40
wall
years
here, right?
old
Like,
would be a
they're
better,
so heavily focused on the
mark-
military side of
mark
things,
on that,
and it
agenda
ends
for
up missing the
that.
point entirely, right? Like
Also,
you,
there's a move afoot to increase the returement age due to.
if you open the like one of my
you know,
one of my
the,
closest friends
OPEB
actually just left teaching
commitments,
after
for
25 years.
cities,
He's
so
my
that
age.
some
He'll be
people
he
have
just
to
turned
work
48.
longer to 67
Um,
years of age. And
he
there's
became a
also, some
fire paramedic
legislation
up in
that was out
Provincetown,
there to-
because
for
their
home rule
their system of
petitions
government, they're
where
not still a
actually
service
city
up
or
there.
town could vote
So
to
that,
keep
but
a
he's like
police
he's in
officer
incredible
or
shape.
other
Like
public
he's
safety figure to the age
like,
of 70. Now that would
in
be,
better shape than
up
most
to
20-year-olds are now.
that piece.
No
Are,
problem with the
looking
job,
to
but
move
like
it
as
to
on the paramedic
67
side,
because of,
he's got the
yeah,
life
living
experience
longer,
of a
living
48-year-old.
longer
Like
fuller
there's
lives.
there's going to be a
That's
level of
part
empathy
time
and
sometimes is
like,
the
not
funding
aggro
of that.
behavior. Having
So
been in
that's
an
the only
ambulance
thing
when I was in my early
support that,
20s, like
and
it can
I
get
think
weird
it's
when you're
gonna
just an
move it out.
angry,
I think,
stupid kid.
Kate did mention
Yeah,
something
yeah, yeah.
about
I
in
feel
this
like that's what these
petition,
guys are always missing. It's that
residency.
it's not just about
So
law
the
enforcement
residency
experience, man.
restrictions
You just
that-
spent
that
4
you
years
mentioned,
listening to
yeah.
people, right or
I think
wrong,
we should
yell at you
definitely look
about
at the residency
uh,
restrictions back
needing a
in
different way to
early
do
90s,
things.
We used to have
If they opened up to 50, I would probably apply for the job
I'm
in
not
a
sure
heartbeat.
the number
Like
of
it'd
the
be
sheriff
awesome.
and
Like
I
I'm past the point in my life where I'm worried about getting Serpa code. Like right, like just be a normal human being.
For Worcester residents, 350. But they may be open to open the pool up.
Yeah, right.
Also with the age
You
restriction.
could literally
and
just be a
moving
cop
the
and just
residency
chill.
requirement.
Yeah,
and
we
not
may be
do
able
anything.
to get a bigger pool.
I think that's what
of
most of them do.
candidates, especially a diverse pool of candidates, into our police department. They have done this in other communities. They
See
have
if I can
done
get some
it in
captions
Springfield,
on here.
specifically a community much like Worcester. So I just add that for thought and possible.
Oops.
Oh, boy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to speak? All right.
Maybe if I open the Zoom.
Counselor?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So you had mentioned the diverse pool, and that comes to mind where understanding where I'm for this. I think it's important, especially understanding how careers change throughout our lives, where we'll do 10 years at a job and then, figure that this probably isn't for them, or somewhere where they feel as though a position like this, 30 years, they can be able to take care of their families in a position like this. I've always said, I respect, the job of an officer. This is what they chose to do, to uphold, and I respect that. So I'm supportive of it. Going
I
back
can't
to
get
the
captions
diverse
on
pool,
the Zoom
what would
either.
that look like? Would it be more recruiting men and women coming out of the military? Would it be looking into, if outside of the city, if we stick with just
no,
the
I got
city
it.
residents, would it be looking to recruit outside the city? I believe we have a lot of.
1 second.
Yeah, we might not be able to get. I remember.
No, I got the captions on the Zoom.
Oh, okay.
Share screen. To share audio, share a tab instead. What? All right, no, it's not going to work. That's all right. Oh, wait, I didn't put it up. I'm watching it.
This
It
is
wasn't
through
on
the
the
chair,
stream.
not through the chair. But have we gotten an opinion from the law department?
No, that's what I was going to,
Okay.
I was going
I mean,
to.
we're
Law
all for
department,
this, I think,
famously
but the
correct.
question is,
In all legal
do
opinions.
this.
We have a process, and that's what I want to have. So I'm going to file this and have the chairman's order request a report regarding the necessary steps to enact a home rule petition.
And I had
to
a
move
second
forward.
question when you're,
Certainly.
I appreciate that. That's where I was at on that. I guess my second question is through the chair to the chief. I'm also supportive of the age change up to the age of 40 even. And I also think it makes sense to go beyond Worcester to recruit. I guess my question would be though,
I don't
we seem to
the,
have
see the
less
thing about
police officers and
that's-
officials, and I'm going to exclude
but it's
crowd
like
because
civil service
you all live in
training.
Worcester,
It's
but we seem
not
to have
like
less
you can
people
come
who
from another
reside in Worcester
department.
over time.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
wondering if we're recruiting from outside of Worcester, we're probably not going to necessarily increase those folks to move to Worcester. Do you have any suggestions or thoughts on why we've lost so many police officers living in the city and how to try to reverse that?
That's a funny question.
Through the chair to the council. When you get on, when you take the civil service exam, as long as you are a resident up until the test, a year up until the test, then you can move 15 miles as the bird flies within that area. I think we should create a system where if you're going to take a promotional exam, you would get extra points if you were a city resident, if you were going to stay a city resident. Some localities give.
That's a good idea, actually.
On
I like that.
homeowners that are police.
It's not
officers.
terrible. Yeah, I mean, it's a
They live
tough
in the
one
city.
to
There are
navigate.
different
It's I've
things that should draw you
heard plenty
in
of really good arguments
keep
on
you
both
safe.
sides of that.
because
It's
I've always said, I live in the
mandating somebody
city.
to live in the city
I
just
believe
seems
that's a
weird. Like you would assume that you would want they would want to live in the city,
You're
right?
leaving
Like,
work and you're
but then there's
still
also
here.
times too that I can
Not
totally
driving
see
around
like
commute.
So I appreciate that. Madam Chair, just
I can
as
see
a
people not
thought,
wanting to be
obviously
like
it's
in
their
line with
decision,
at a the movie
to
theater with their
consider
kids or
chairman's
whatever. Well, we don't have a
order,
movie theater, so forget
as
about that
to
example.
maybe best practices,
In line at Honey Farms with their kids and
encouraging,
running into somebody
police
arrested the
personnel
weekend
to
before, or
reside in
whatever.
the
Like I
city.
can see how that might be
Yes,
weird. Like
absolutely. I have that written down right
Yeah, a little
here.
awkward.
So I think we'll request a report on the incentives that different police departments use around the country. And also request what we can do legally here in Massachusetts, because I know we've had discussions about tax breaks before and things like that, and sometimes there are some issues with legality on those. So I would definitely want to get that as well, get a legal opinion on that as well. Did you get that?
Through the chair, yes, I did.
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Certainly.
To the chair, to the chief. And understanding that there have been, officers moving. I don't know why mine's doing that.
They're having major feedback problems.
When they move
in
out,
City Hall recently. That was the case on Tuesday night too.
I think the chief's mic is it's half pointing to Lewis's mic.
Oh yeah.
Why
yeah.
they decided to move, or what was the situation?
Through the chair to the council, it's not often that we have officers leave to go to another jurisdiction to work. They just leave to get out of the city, and they still work here. So, but we have in the last year.
I feel like your average cop is like sort of like an ex-urban guy, like living in a McMansion
So I think
that was
I think
recently
that,
built on a
we'll
swamp.
definitely get a better understanding.
They had
of
a,
what we
and
need
I don't
to
know if they still have it, but they had a
and
program
so,
for a while where
regarding, the residency
um,
restrictions.
there were
and
certain
maybe
apartment
retirement
buildings,
age,
and I don't think they were public
little
housing.
question
I
on
think
the
they were apartment
retirement age.
buildings that like they made offers
Are
to
there any
landlords
restrictions regarding,
where like
um,
they could get free rent for
physical
living in them.
ability
Yeah.
And
at
that was a way
age by
they were using that to
expanding
like
it?
keep younger cops like living, and they're
To the
mostly like
chair.
studios
Right
and whatnot.
now,
Like they weren't
once you
luxurious
get through the
apartments.
police
They were
academy,
Yeah.
like apartments on
That's it.
lower
we
May
do
Street,
have
right? Like
a
down by Maine
incentive
that
where officers have to do
and they would
certain physical testing.
I knew a couple
ability,
of guys back in the late
and
90s,
that
early aughts
enables
took
them
advantage of that
to-
though,
to
and they kind of dug it.
furlough
Like
days extra
Yeah.
per year.
That's
if you
interesting.
pass the test.
Okay,
It's currently the only incentive.
okay.
I'd be curious to see if I
would
could
like
pass
to
the police
also get a
physical
report,
training test.
on
I don't know if I
types
could.
of
that's actually I
incentives as
get
well
hung up
to
a lot
enhance physical,
when it comes to the age
health
thing.
of the,
Like I
person.
don't like the idea that they
Because we
use
wanna make sure
hard
that we're
age
also not
caps
setting
for
ourselves up to have a lot of
for
folks
jobs.
that are
I mean, it
really
seems like that would be a slam dunk
not
from like an age discrimination perspective.
Yeah, right,
The state
right.
police,
But I
they
also
do
don't
have a
understand why
military
we don't
physical
have
fitness test
like
they must
a
pass.
consistent
They also, I believe,
need
don't
to
have
redo
a
any physical
age restriction.
assessments. Like that
Mhm.
should be
Okay. So
at a
I would
minimum
also be
annual, but
interested
you would think it would be like a
in,
monthly thing that like you just do, here's your
Junie's,
PT, like you're just
perspective
doing
on
this.
that last,
Yeah.
And if you can be 80
comment.
and put in 20 years,
I mean,
but still doing the same PT
regarding
test that 20-year-olds are supposed to be doing, then like,
is there
yeah, great.
something that,
Enjoy your job as a
either
cop.
one of you have any
You still
input
shouldn't
on,
be
or-
president, but you can be a cop.
Oh,
Physical fitness test. So, currently there are two, to enter the academy, there's a PAT test that must be taken per civil service. And then there's also an MPTC test, which is actually more
Is this
difficult.
fix it, bro?
And what we're
Yeah.
finding
Yeah.
is that more of our people that are trying to enter the academy are actually not passing that 30% physical fitness test that is required by the MPTC now. Now, while we're on the job,
MPTC,
I really
30%
believe
physical
that
fitness
today
test.
we have more officers maintaining a higher level of physical fitness maybe than we have in the past. The chief and the department have been very good about, we have a new gym equipment in there. We have put in
I
our,
found it.
Through collective bargaining that, if you can get physical fitness during the duty day, which helps with our mental resilience and our physical resilience also, which we appreciate is recognized by the department. We have a kind of a physical fitness test that we take now. Can it be improved? Maybe, but one thing to remember that, that's all part of our collective bargaining when we talk
Right.
about things like
This
that.
is why I asked your.
Yeah, so
comment.
that's about, we're always for sitting down.
Rick
and we're-
Cipro
we
just
never
sitting there
say
like the
no
puppet
to
master,
anything.
like KTB's puppet
But because
master.
we have made strides in
Seriously,
that.
can't go there.
within the
That's
department, because
union
we all
business.
recognize our mental and physical fitness is paramount to this particular job, especially today in this this environment that we have.
Well, absolutely. And that, and I'm looking at this as, more of a support.
What does that mean,
uh,
especially today in this environment?
Comment, as opposed to anything else, making sure that we're giving giving people the tools that they need to be able to stay healthy and strong and.
Rude.
And I mean, and this is
physically,
kind of, I'm just looking at the,
job as well.
that MPTC
So.
standard as
all right,
well. I mean,
just,
this is kind of
we'll file
embarrassing.
that item, and we already took, do you want?
Many officers
Just
aren't
as you're
passing
filing it,
that,
Madam
is what you're
Chair.
saying,
30%
Is it
aren't,
being
he said
amended
30%
to-
can't do that. And I'm looking for like my age range,
Yes.
like push-ups is 15 in a minute.
Okay, we'll
Like-
take a vote to amend that.
Embarrassingly low number.
Yeah, right.
We can certainly take a vote to amend that. for
In a
clarification.
minute, not even
Counselor Bergman?
consecutively.
Yes.
You're
Counselor
20 to
Armita?
29
Yes.
and you're not doing 20.
And
You're not, I
Chairperson
mean,
Counselor
again,
G,
assuming
yes.
that like, you know, this is
Thank
coming.
you.
So you have a chance to
Thank
prep,
you,
right? Like
Right.
somebody just wake you up in the middle of the night and
Um,
make you do it
Number
unannounced.
4, communications
26
with
push-ups,
manager,
like, in a
police
minute,
department,
you should be able to bang that
transmitting
out.
information,
Yeah.
communication.
Oh,
relative
imagine
to
not being able to do
information
it 30
on gun
seconds.
violence
Oh,
and
wow.
Firearms seized by the Worcester.
Okay,
Police
where they
Department.
might get me. Oh my god, that's actually kind of a
Chief?
stiff time
To the chair.
for a 1.5 mile run.
In
Honestly,
2023, Worcester PD seized
14 minutes?
115 firearms, which we call crime
For a
guns
mile and
that
a half?
commit The criminal activity.
I don't know if I could do that.
You can do
of
that.
the guns,
You could walk it,
100
Bill.
handguns, 13 shotguns.
Oh, we're on
That's
just guns.
Yeah, I
You know,
want to hear this.
We're
this one.
seizing these. 27 of those weapons came during a vice squad search warrant into a home or a vehicle. As far as what we're doing is for gun violence, we've created several partnerships with the ATF. We have a full-time detective assigned to the ATF where we can actually gather more evidence from crime scenes, shell casings and whatnot, and match those up to other crime scenes. And when that happens, we can put those crimes on one gun in one hand, then we can ask for an increased time once they go through the court system.
Question for you. Do we know of those individuals where you've taken those guns? Do we know how many of them have been previously arrested for illegal gun?
To
I
the chair,
really-
I don't have the
Kate Banks'
exact
truck.
number. but
I'm
a
so
large
confused by
percentage
Kate
of
taking this
our-
angle where she's essentially going to war with the DA's office
those that are willing to
over
go and
light
actually
sentencing
shoot somebody
guidelines.
is
Right.
very small.
I don't think she really
Uh,
knows
small
what sort of
percentage
arena she's
population
entering.
that do
with this.
that.
No,
And they're the ones that seem to be all the time, the one being caught with weapons.
Okay. And most of the time, are these weapons being, you said the crime, that includes different types of crimes. Do you have a breakdown of that or?
predominantly gun crimes, Kate.
A lot of these are people who are actually caught with a weapon.
They weren't sexually
People
assaulting
do
the
car
weapon.
stop, There'll be a gun inside.
That's one of
They
the
get
dumbest
charged
exchanges
with
I've ever heard.
a Weapon without an FID, with a handgun without an FID.
A lot of these gun crimes
Shotguns
involve
are-
people caught with a weapon.
rifles are rarer. Those mostly come during.
I mean, he had to answer a dumb question, but that's a dumb answer.
We did have 186 other guns turned in, which could have been through restraining order violations, or sometimes somebody will pass away in the family.
You have any
and they'll want to give the
thoughts,
guns
feelings on
Get 'em
Saucier
out.
thus far? This
I
role?
don't know if this is.
It seems
information is
honestly to be
available,
more
but just in
professional than
terms of,
Sergeant ever was.
Numbers.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
I
I'd
went
be
back
interested
after
to
I've
find
been
out
trying to
how
find
many
as many
people
statements that I can find that he's made since he's
multiple
been in,
times.
and just that it's like he sounds more like a politician actually than like.
That would be.
He always kind of scared
depressing
me. He's
because
the
it would
he's the one that the veins in his
education.
neck
And
start
those are people who
blowing
want
up,
that.
like going
Yeah.
all Hulk when he hears something he doesn't
So-
like. But he's in this role.
Yeah, that's correct.
to be
You
more
actually
chill.
have to do a search of each individual with
he
the
seems to be
license to
okay.
carry.
Okay.
Then
I mean,
it
as
would
far as police chiefs
compute
go,
how
you
many
know.
weapons they've had.
He does still look like the bad guy from
So
Avatar,
you
though.
may get a list of 37 weapons, but they may currently only have 5.
It sounds like it might be a little bit onerous to do, but I think it's certainly interesting. But those are people who already have the guns legally. The issue is we've got so many people out on the streets. I mean,
To the chair, Right, most of
No,
our
what do you
gun
mean?
crime has nothing to do with it.
I thought that was the point, is getting people out in the streets, making us an 18-hour city, Kate.
Okay, and so I'm interested to hear more about the relationship with the ATF and how that's going.
Wow.
So if you
Kate's
want to come back
black-pilled.
with a report on that, that would be great, because I know you're not ready.
To
for
the
that.
chair, that's correct. We've got a couple things we're working on right now, as far as beefing that up and
Brennan, have you watched
dedicating more people
the
and
Octopus
time.
Murders yet on
No.
Netflix?
Just because it's
I
Pretty
haven't.
probably one of the
sick.
most
Pretty,
serious
actually, really sick.
offenses you can
Huh.
have. And, you know,
A
it's hurt
lot.
our community.
A lot
And
of
I don't want to have this
three-
conversation,
three-letter
you know,
agencies.
without,
a lot of CIA, NSA,
keep shutting
and
the phone
FBI
down.
stuff, and that is
Get ahead,
fascinating.
another one. It's my birthday, that's why everyone's calling.
It's
Oh,
Kate's
happy
birthday.
Happy birthday, Kate.
Wow, she's born almost on St. Patty's Day.
Sorry,
It's my birthday. That's why
Thankful
everyone
that
was
he's
calling.
because I was old enough to know.
Wow, she is so
at any
desperate
rate,
for their approval. It's crazy.
you know,
It's
today, you know. we
Pick me,
had
Bill.
Service for
It's just bad. It's just
two,
obvious. It's
beautiful
hard.
women that
It's
were,
hard
whose
to
lives were
watch.
taken, young mother and her daughter.
This really does highlight, though, how
publicly
unaware
how
she is of
grateful
where she's
I
going with
am
this. Like,
and-
she's
and
trying to
this
take
committee and
the
council in our
more
cities
right-wing
for
approach to,
all the
like,
work that,
you're caught with a
um,
gun illegally,
Dan,
like,
you
you're in
and
prison for the rest of your
Detective
life.
Bureau and
But the last thing
everybody
she said
else,
is she's curious about, like,
I know
how we
there's
can
a
partner
long
with the
list of
ATF,
people that
arch
were
nemesis of the
participating,
2A community.
and
It's like,
right. Yeah,
caught
I read it
everybody.
as
So,
she has
you know,
been.
it was a rough week.
2A.
And I want to thank everyone for all the incredible work that they've done.
But yeah, no, you're right. She's like, oh no, the ATF is helpful. She like thinks that they're
community and
helpful. Nice.
stay on script, lady.
Just, you know, hopefully we can prevent something like this happening again. It's just tragic. So, but this is why we need that type of partnership. And, you know, I'm grateful for the professionals.
All right.
because they all did a
So
great job
here's where I
to
really
bring them back.
there's literally nothing
All right, so
the police
does
could
anybody
have
have any
done.
questions on that?
to prevent this. Why are we under the
Okay.
impression that the police will prevent something
Thank you,
similar
Madam Chair.
in the future?
Through the chair.
Like
Um,
that they
Chief,
they
so
respond to
in
bad
understanding
things.
these numbers,
There's no preventative.
15
like,
guns
there's
were
no prevention
seized,
in the
confiscated,
equation
whatever
here.
maybe.
They
And then
pose like
there was an
a threat
additional
of consequences
186
generally that keeps people
that
from
were
doing things, but there's no
turned in
preventative
or
action
brought in
here.
for
They're
other
not
reasons.
like
So that's fair
settling
to say about
the fucking
301
beef
were brought in. Out of those, how many
between
were city
that
residents?
seems to be underlying this
You know that
like
number?
this violence.
Through
You
the
know?
chair to council, no, I wouldn't.
All right, and my next question to the chair. Have you received phone calls from owners saying they're missing some of their firearms, right? I've known people to have several firearms and maybe they just forgot where they put them or whatever, and when they go looking for them, they can't find them.
Through the chair to the council, that's correct. Either the
That's
person
interesting.
could have had a burglary or they did have multiple firearms per your license to carry FID statute. Once you.
Over
find
under
out
on
you
Kate
don't
Jimmy
necessarily
having a
weapon,
firearm on
By
her
law,
right
you
now.
have to report it.
That was actually her gun that was ringing. That was her phone
Do
gun
you know
that
if
was
they-
ringing to wish her a happy
Find them?
birthday.
You know, how do we know if they've been able to find the firearm, or is that something that you guys will help in that situation?
Through the chair to the council, if found, they need to let us know that. It was
I need to pull the
found so
clip
we
from
can take it
Tuesday
out
of Kate
our
Toomey saying we were
reporting.
talking about the cops.
Hmm.
But for the most part, they're not found.
Pretty revealing.
It's my understanding that some of those were, the identification numbers on the guns were not visible, and so those could be stolen weapons. Correct.
To the chair, that's correct. They'll obliterate serial numbers so they can't be traced. But what we
This
do
is
is when we
Definitely a no
have a
prevention
gun
committee
come into
meeting.
our custody, we put
This
it
is-
through
The-
ATF.
this is supposed
They
to
will
be
do a search of that
in
weapon,
theory,
trace it back to the
the
original
public
purchase,
oversight
and
of
then they'll follow
the
it
police
from there
department.
to find out where it came from,
It's
how it got
just
here,
not
and
that
who was the last person actually
at all.
legally had that.
This is
weapon.
where the cops come
That's
to
why
get their
it's
little
so important
treats
to have,
when they want them.
you know, collaboration with the.
I'm actually surprised they called this
ATF.
meeting because
Right.
there's nothing
Right.
actionable here. There's just receiving 2 informational reports on drugs and
Just a few
guns.
questions through the chair.
But I suppose the
think
action
both
here,
My
what the cops
colleagues
are looking
touched on this
for,
issue.
and
You may not
the
have
city
a
councilors
specific-
is a headline
specific
about
number, but
how
through
they
the chair
take
to the
firearms
Chief,
seriously.
of the 115 weapons, how many, and you can, if you're comfortable guesstimating, resulted from break-ins that were taken from people that legally had them? Are we talking a small percentage, a high percentage, if you know?
Through the chair to the counselor, I just want you to rephrase that if possible.
Yeah, it was a wordy question. Sometimes I switch my role and should stay with city council, not the attorney.
Oh my God,
I'm
what
trying to
a,
get a sense of the majority of guns coming
Sup,
from
system?
break-ins. I guess that's an easier way to.
I'm sorry to hear that,
phrase
but
it.
happy
Or are
COVID
they coming
anniversary.
From other sources.
Through the chair to the counselor,
today?
it's actually.
Oh, it was
both.
yesterday,
We have a
technically.
large percentage of our
so that
weapons,
means the
once
kid
they
Toomey's
are
birthday is like the
traced,
day the world
come
ended?
from up north, New Hampshire and whatnot.
The first day of the end of the world?
First formal business day was the
If we
Kate's national
have a
emergency.
weapon and we trace it, it will tell us whether or not it came from a break, B&E. There
Dude,
could have been
watching Mo
something.
Bergman talk to
So
the
that
cops is like
information we do get, I just don't have
completely
that
different than the way that he talks to.
And as far as trends,
city council
it
floor.
may have been in the report.
Look how
it may have been
relaxed he is
presented
now
at a
compared
different
to
time, but
Tuesday night when
what
one
would you say the trend
one
has been
intoxicated
between
man was yelling near
2022 and
him.
2023 with respect to the guns confiscated?
He's in his
Through the chair
comfort
to the
zone now.
council, It's pretty close to the same.
And as far as the ages, do you keep records of the
I'm
ages
surprised
of
he's not
people
sitting on the
that
other
are
side of the table, just like
arrested
nuzzling
for
his head
illegal
against
gun
one of their
possession?
shoulders.
Is it the younger
Right,
crowd,
right,
older
yeah.
crowd, or hard to say?
I believe
Hey, you mind if I crack a cold
24
one?
to 31 is our most, I believe that was the age, 24 to 31
Okay.
involved in the gun crime.
It's kind of surprising because that's through the chair. That seems to be, is that maybe it's my ignorance, is that the usual gang-related ages? It seems older than that.
Through the chair of the council, when I say 24 to 31, most of our crime overall is based on that. Particular to gun crime, I would need to look at the stats to actually bring that up.
I appreciate that. And I have one last question. Do we keep any stats on the ammunition seized? Because it seems to me that that's also kind of an important factor.
Through the chair of the council, we do. We actually have a sheet. I don't have it with me.
We actually
But
keep that.
it tells us
ourselves.
how many shell
Bullets are
casings
expensive.
we recover, which can actually be traced, how many cartridges we recover, and the amount of gunshots overall
You know what?
that we investigate.
They
And lastly,
didn't
do we
recover
have
their
any
own
sense of any trends on that? Or that
cartridges when they
something you'd
fired
have
them to
to
protesters
get back to us on?
in June. Like they just left them on Main Street. What are they talking about? They
Just
were-
a
Yeah, through the
trend.
chair of the
yeah.
council, I think one trend we've seen is a larger number of rounds fired in each shooting. We've also seen more high-capacity magazines. A lot of, the shootings now.
What
involve
sort of data is
couple
that
shots
trend based
involve
off of?
maybe
Is it
20.
the
It's
firework
much more
detection
common to see
software?
more, ammunition, more rounds being fired.
All right, thank you both.
You, Council, hey.
Thank you.
See, that's great. Your birthday
Through the
is
chair.
not
So-
the day people remember.
And I'm glad you mentioned that with the shot spotter and understanding
Oh,
how
shot
that
spotter.
breaks down pretty much where the shots are pretty much from within an 8-mile radius, I believe. How many times or what if you have the numbers?
8-block
of
radius,
being able to
mostly your district,
either
but yeah.
catch the individual or individuals that fired off those
Oh, they're
those
gonna lie
weapons?
so hard here.
Is there data on that to get a better understanding on how well that's working for us? And then
Dude,
if it is,
How are they
or
not
isn't,
talking about
what
that
more
Wired
can we
story?
do to help with being able to get to that scene even quicker, or
so frustrating.
obviously reduce these numbers? Because I see it often, and it amazes me, like you said, Lieutenant Murtha, when it's 9 shots, 10 shots, 12 shots. That's pretty alarming.
Through the chair to the council, this year we had approximately 70 we had 116 incidents of gunfire that was confirmed. Out of that, 70 of them were picked up by ShotSpotter, were within the 8-mile radius. of that, 41 times, nobody even called the police. So if we're not going to a crime scene, we can't collect evidence. We can't bring it to the ATF. We cannot get video of the actual shooting scene. So there's a lot of times we'll just end up going to the hospital because somebody would be injured due to gunfire. And when we do that, we have nothing. We've had a homicide in the past where the guy's at the hospital or we got no crime scene, you have nowhere to start. So not only is it instrumental to be able to go right to the scene quickly, we're also able to render aid. All our officers carry quick clot, they all carry tourniquets, and we're the first ones there. We're there prior to fire.
All right, talk about how many calls there were, though.
We're actually doing
I mean, how many
emergency treatment on scene.
shot spotter
which
trigger dispatches?
I believe.
I think he said it was, did he say it was 70 of the
Within a
160?
minute of that shot going
No,
off.
160 confirmed
Otherwise,
shootings.
you may not.
Yeah,
know that
but that's-
person
70 of which
since
are
it's
tied to
pinpointed
shot
within
spotter. That is
25
not the
years
same as
of
Oh, I
the
get what you're saying.
shot spotter triggered.
And if you don't know
5
where it
million
is,
times.
and
Right.
somebody
Just
calls
70
it in,
times there was some overlap.
they
Right,
could be
right.
a mile away, and the police would be going a mile away instead of right to where the incident is.
See, that's the
Thank
kind
you,
of
appreciate it, through the chair.
data
So-
they're not going to share because that's where it looks
I
bad.
appreciate that. I
Right.
think it's important to understand that, you do have the equipment to register the aid. Maybe I have a couple of questions.
Yeah, at
here.
that point, it's just
Yeah.
broken clock stuff.
If you have
Yeah.
sufficient equipment, if there's enough equipment for your men. Unfortunately, I've seen this growing up as well, where, gunshots, I've seen it happen right in front of me a few times where I grew up. And I can remember police officers coming around asking questions, but at the same time, residents want to feel safe, right? Do you have something in place where they come back maybe a day or two where things have calmed down, so then you can, go around the community and ask people questions? Because right on the scene, it's really tough. There was an incident not too far from me where there was probably 15, 20 shots rang off, and it was right around the corner from my neighborhood. I walked over there just to get an idea of how they address the scene and things like that, and I liked what I saw. But again, it's asking those questions. You never know who's watching. So is there something in place like that where, one, how are you looking for equipment, and there's things where we can help out in that area, and two, do you go back a couple of days later to tax the residents?
Through the chair of the council, as far as equipment goes, everything is dispersed through our training division. So if you use something, it could be Narcan, tourniquet, whatever, you just go back and they'll reissue you a new one. So we are good there. One thing we like to do, and right now we're down 63 people, so it's kind of tough to be more proactive when it comes to follow-ups, is we would go out and we have the NRT team, neighborhood response team. They would follow up on all shot spotter calls. If there was no damage, if there was damage, a detective would follow up. If there's no damage, NRT would actually follow up, try to get some video. We used to have door hangers where we put them on people's doors and say, hey, there was an incident here. If you know anything, please give us a call. We also have a tip line that we put out.
Just if people aren't answering for Ring cameras and whatnot,
And
or
we also do a camera
like apartment
collaborative
buildings,
program
if like they
where
need to get
people with
access to a
cameras in
landlord.
the neighborhood, if they want to partner with us, we can have that streamed right into our real-time crime center. So all
Every
that
time a
stuff
firework
is
goes
in
off, they go over
combination
and leaflet a
to have
neighborhood.
people
No, just if
trained
it's a
to
confirmed shooting. So if
I
they're
think the
if they're
most
finding
important
evidence, but they don't
thing for
actually,
shot
they didn't either
spotter
get a
is
call.
community policing tool.
It's
And
mostly
it
just to
is
canvass the
because
neighborhood.
we didn't go to
I think
the
it's just
same
working under
ones
the
as
idea
these.
that like every neighborhood,
I
there's
feel
always
for
one
the
old
person
lady
in their
who
house
has her
that
chair
was
right by the
afraid to
window,
call
who's watching
and never see
everything
a
all day
police
long.
officer
Oh,
because
yeah.
we never knew about
That's
it.
my entire street.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And
One last question.
go ahead.
Last question on the side. Make sure. Madam Chair, I should have asked this question. through
That
you
is
to,
the most challenging question they would be asked.
Chief
I-
or
the
Lieutenant
fact that this
Martha.
wired investigation
We
is not
talked
going to
about there
be
being more
imposed.
rounds as a trend. I should have asked if either of you have.
I mean, I
any
wrote about
thoughts
that.
On why that
It was
is.
like
More rounds being used
the
than
iron
opposition.
fucking
Through the chair of
dome
the
of
council,
discourse that
there
we
is
have
an
in
item
Worcester
with,
where like
people are
criticism of the
using.
police just is
Number
not
one, they're
allowed to
using
enter.
larger magazines.
It's crazy.
you
Chicago
could have
just
a
voted to
A
suspend
regular
this software
magazine
because
cartridge that goes with the
because it's
weapon
problematic, and
that's supposed to contain
we're
9
not even
rounds.
going to bring it up.
They have them that contain 30 rounds. They also have a thing, it's called a switch, what they can put onto a handgun, and it turns
What's up,
into an
Camber?
automatic weapon. So along with the
She left her ringer
bigger
on so that she
magazine
can
with
say
more
it's her birthday on
rounds,
the mic.
they
That was
can
pretty
let
cool.
off 30 shots within.
She's like,
2
oh, so many
seconds.
people are calling me
As
because
far as where the ammunition is coming from, we believe again,
Yep.
north.
Mix it,
And
brothers.
as Lieutenant said, nowadays you go to crime scenes.
Spoken
you have
favorably
multiple-
about the police
multiple
age thing.
rounds fired, 20, 30. we
Wants
have
to raise
over
to 50.
Thank you.
Which I think actually,
I just.
if it was
read
only
on-
50 to
online
70 year
somewhere
olds
that there's a
that were police officers,
civilian person who.
that
just
might be,
People walking around handing out Werther's originals. I mean, what
Male
that sounds
ages
kind of lovely,
200,
actually.
Yeah.
80 rounds.
those
a
are,
minute or-
that's also the most fascist age
I
range.
saw a video of it.
So
I'm telling you, I'll take the job.
Just- I saw that today.
You're down 68. So put me in, coach.
So, you know, I think
traffic
that
cop,
it's,
we should
it's
sit on
scary
Mill
to
Street,
me.
watch
that
other old timers shake their
These
head.
trends.
Be a motorcycle
are
cop.
there because
Be great.
the ghost
that'd be
guns,
sick.
where, you know, there's no way to really stop that, right? And I think the switches really are very scary. So I think, you know, if we wanted.
It's really scary is that people are just finding out about these
you know,
now because
do
you can
we
buy them
look
on
at-
fucking Instagram.
Talking to the legislators.
Here's my thing
about
about the switches.
that. Did they have that in the, I know there's
Uh,
some new gun reform
The shooting
legislation out there.
wouldn't be that
um,
much different if there was a switcher.
To the chair, that's correct. I've spoke with
The
them.
biggest
and
problem is, I mean,
there
so
is
you're
a
putting them on a Glock handgun,
piece in there
typically
that
9
has to do
millimeters.
with
Like,
that
if you've
switch.
ever handled one, like a
Currently,
fully automatic Glock,
the law
they
states
they're
if
not
it's
accurate. Like,
on the
you have to
weapon,
work your fucking
it's
ass off to hit
nothing,
anything
no
with a
charge.
Glock with a switch.
So it has to be on the weapon. They
Yeah.
want to try to reverse
It's
that.
not like handling a select fire
Yes,
rifle where like you can actually aim.
Well, I
It's
certainly
it's
support
wild
that.
how quickly they rattle off.
Making things so much worse. I don't have any further questions on that, so we're going to accept file. All those in favor? I don't think we need a roll call. Okay, so we're going to go to
Drugs report.
4B.
I still can't get over the
Information
fact that Joe Petty had a
relative to drug
Cryogenics
trafficking
Institute of New
statistics,
England
which
on
City
his
Council,
campaign fundraiser.
February 6th.
That's really just one of those facts that I don't even want to know the story behind that.
To the chair. In 2023, Worcester Police made 46 arrests with 64 total charges.
Is he
for
going to
drug
read the whole
trafficking.
report?
And this is often a misunderstanding. When we're saying trafficking, you have to have a certain weight to meet that criminal eligibility to be charged with trafficking. Underneath trafficking, there are charges for distribution. Underneath that, there are charges for possession with intent to distribute. And underneath that, it's just pure possession. So a lot more drug arrests are made. But in order to have Class A heroin, for example, you need 18 grams or more to constitute trafficking in heroin. If it's fentanyl, I'm sorry, and that's fentanyl as well, 10 grams. Class B, like cocaine, crack cocaine, that's 14 grams. So a lot more arrests are made, but to stick those charges is higher because the seller will not carry that much weight, knowing it would be a stiffer penalty.
I have a question about
Good to know.
of those arrests. Do we know how many had guns? Illegal guns?
Fuck off, Kate.
In the previous report, I believe
Can
it
you
was
turn my
26
stereotype image of a
came
criminal?
out of
Yeah,
search
well,
warrants
I mean,
for,
she started this up
Okay.
prior to that shooting. So, like, do you have any sense of where she's going with this?
And then you talk about in the report about silencing.
This started as an
and
order
then
that she put on the floor,
found it,
trying to get a report from the
fentanyl
manager
seizures.
just to get kicked back to
and it
knowing it
being
would get kicked to her
problematic because it's not
committee.
reversed by Narcan, because it's also not yet classified as a controlled substance. That's a problem. How much?
This here
of that- you
looks
said
like a
half-
light bulb,
About half of the seed,
but it isn't.
right? Yeah.
Kate Jimmy
So
smoke
my
crack challenge.
concern is that that's more potent than fentanyl. Yeah, that's really a big issue that we have here.
Yeah, what the
And,
fuck are you gonna do
have we
about it?
talked, what's stopping them from classifying it as a controlled substance? Do we know?
To the chair, xylazine is an actual veterinarian tranquilizer.
Yes.
Hence the nickname Trank. It is used to add to fentanyl or heroin to up the weight. So if you're going to buy a gram of heroin and it contains 50% xylazine, the drug dealer can make more money
Sure.
because they can
But
they can
being a
split it up
veterinary
and
drug, it is by definition a
sell
controlled substance.
to make it look like.
Like, I don't know. She's just making stuff up.
It's
Yeah.
not an opioid, therefore it does not work with Narcan.
And like, also,
And it
what does she
also,
want the Worcester
creates
Police Department
lesions on the
to
people's
do
skin that's
about?
pretty bad.
the
I just get
federal
grossed out when
and
she's
you
making
can
like the
obviously
fear-mongering
fentanyl is,
statements like,
so
what's
many
stopping
capsules
somebody from doing
stronger
this?
than
Well, like,
heroin.
doesn't really matter
So when
because
that's
somebody
in
is
your
stopping them
skin,
from doing whatever hypothetical fucking nonsense thing lives in your brain, right? Like,
And
Yeah,
people
right.
don't know what they're taking.
But this really
So
is
it's,
like,
that's
hey,
why you have so many
confirm,
overdoses. You don't know where you get
like
it.
the stereotype,
Right.
the stereotype
Do we
image
have,
in my mind
Right.
of a drug
Do
user.
we have any idea where it's coming in from? Is it coming in from, down south? Is it coming in from
say China, say China.
up north? So I know it goes across the country. I think I heard that there was
She
there was
wants them to
something
say
also
Mexico
down in,
so badly.
Tennessee. I think that was pretty bad too. The crocodile.
To the chair, I know
Crocodile!
xylazine is actually something
That
that's
was like 5 years ago. What is she
In
talking
Russia.
about?
not federally controlled. I believe you can buy it online. From
And I'm pretty
China.
sure in Russia they just say crocodile. I don't think they go.
US manufactured. This is crazy. Well,
Crazy,
We
Bill.
need to have a further
That's
conversation, I think, about
Crocodile. She
the,
just watched that Vice
uh,
documentary.
illegal drugs and what's happening with all of that because it's just exacerbating
She
the
didn't
situation. I mean,
understand that it
it's
was
true.
Russia.
We know that most, a lot of folks that are out there that are
Right. Like,
suffering.
that would be an
that are
appropriate use of
homeless,
the public safety
also have
subcommittee.
substance use disorder. And it's getting worse and worse. And, we need to do something to try to do this. And I want to thank everybody in the
We need
police
to do
department who
something.
have been
You're not
doing
doing anything.
incredible jobs with identifying.
Maybe if you quit,
individuals,
we could find somebody
trying to take
who
them
could do
off the
something.
Right.
street. I know I've had several conversations with you, Chief, and information that people have given.
Yeah,
to
probably
me.
at 2 o'clock in the morning via
You know,
Twitter, and I bet he's thrilled about
right
that.
on top of everything. So they're doing an outstanding job and I'm very proud of them. So I know that there was a neighborhood that was being terrorized
By what?
by some people that were dealing drugs out of a house and you guys took care of that very quickly. So thank you. Counselor?
Terrorized. by-
Thank you, Madam Chair. I could have asked this question on the last
that's not
item
very good.
regarding weapons, but it's equally relevant to this item. As I understand it, there's proposed Massachusetts legislation to eliminate charging adults up to the age of 20 as adults and substituting charging them as juveniles. I'm wondering, and I haven't looked at the legislation in depth, does that include gun and drug-related offenses as well? And if it does, has there been any position taken by any police departments, Chief, that you're aware of regarding the proposed legislation?
Through the chair to the counselor,
Or super-
everything I've read, it would be
Stupid and cruel.
all-inclusive, meaning you would not be considered a juvenile if you were up to that certain age, and I believe it was 20.
Would be considered juvenile.
You'd be considered
All
juvenile,
Through the chair for
Correct.
all charges.
correct?
But Sasha's doing a great job of just not
So it
answering
seems to
questions.
be working counterproductive to a lot of what we're trying to accomplish in keeping people motivated to not do bad things.
What?
Thank you.
What?
That's definitely a real concern.
Yo, I like
Just
Balsas here
a
now.
few questions.
Yeah.
He just let Mo Bergman hang himself.
Where are these arrests being made as far as
Well, I
within
mean,
within the city? Is it?
You got to understand, Bill. When it comes to gender affirming care, we don't like the idea of anyone making decisions on their own until they're 25, and we know their frontal cortex is fully formed.
You know,
But when it comes to going to prison,
Through the chair to
we would
counsel,
like the
I don't have
opportunity to put you in
exact
prison as
breakdown,
young as
but our
4.
Vice unit
I think by the
works
time you're
throughout
4,
the whole city.
you've entered
What we do
preschool,
is
you
we'll
should
take
know right from
complaints
wrong.
from citizens that
That was
crime
really
meetings
smart
and we
of
watch
Paul
meetings.
Saucier there to
We take that information and we'll
Mel
start an
Bergman's
investigation.
bluff
We also
and
have
be
that
like, I'm
tip
not stepping
line,
into that.
and people provide tips.
I'm not
and
going to be
say, "I
on the
believe this
record
drug dealer
saying,
going on,"
yes, I love
that.
putting
up
18-year-olds in jail.
And then
For
people
life.
just come and.
Yeah, right.
General population at MCI
But
Concord.
it's not.
That's where
Yeah.
children
in
belong.
one particular
Yeah, and then
spot.
Mo Bergman wouldn't
When you
even
say-
like
when you
ask him
talk
again.
about
He just
street
like
dealing,
stumbled into a.
More of that is towards
That was
Main
awesome.
South. But
All
as
right.
far as
Paul Saucier.
homes dealing, it's
Still,
spread throughout the whole.
still,
South.
still a cop.
I'm sorry,
but
through the chair.
better than
Thank you for
sergeant.
that.
I'm saying.
I should have said, when it comes to xylazine, is that more found in a specific area in the city, or again, is it throughout?
Through the chair of the council.
Yeah, it's found in the
what we
area that
do
we
is every
control,
time we have a
and not
drug
in the
arrest
areas that we don't.
that's going to be prosecuted, we have the drug sent in for analysis, and it will say whether or not it's xylazine. So that really can't be contributed to a.
Ruth,
certain
if you do
neighborhood.
prevention, then
It's
why?
just- that's whoever the
If
drug
you
dealer
prevent
is, it's
crime
making
from
it-
happening,
it's-
then like
it's
you're out
all
of the
over
job,
place.
right? Like, why would you do that?
Okay, thank you. Next question. Again, with the xylazine, do we know what age group these individuals
Enhanced.
are?
Imagine he's reading the
Data
Twitch
on that as
comments. That
far
would be
as,
so sick.
You know, those arrests are being made and what age group that is, you know, to get a better understanding on that data, you know, to have a more of a targeted approach. Obviously, I'm on the chair for public health, so
He's getting his next set of orders from Cipro.
Through the chair of
Right.
the council, I can get you more specifics on that. But with the heroin and fentanyl seizures that we have, it's more of an adult population. You're not really seeing juveniles per se out there doing it. It's mostly, you know, higher 20s, 30s, or even above that are partaking in that.
And through the chair of the council, it's also not something we're seeing people seeking out xylazine intentionally. It's something that the drug dealers who sell fentanyl are using just to cut the drugs to increase their profits. And it's something people have found, you know, they want to buy fentanyl. They probably are not happy to have the xylazine in it.
okay, thank you. And last question through the chair. Are there any preventative measures that you guys are using to get out, maybe with social media or just, you know, attending some of the neighborhood meetings?
Let's bring back the DARE program.
Making the neighborhood aware, some of the neighborhood leaders per se at those PAC meetings to get them to understand some of this that's really taking place, right? This trend that we're having. I think it's important, if it is seen in the Main South area where they do have a lot of community meetings, I think it'll be great to get that information.
This is a
Through
good
the chair of the
question.
council, that's
Hey,
correct. We do
I don't-
that at
I
our
don't think
meetings,
so.
but
I
sometimes that's
wasn't looking for that
counterproductive
specifically.
because
I
Yeah.
think that only a few major cities have
the,
them. At
the
this point.
stuff that you.
I think
can
it's just New York
actually
City, and
Die on.
I can never
the
keep
higher
track whether or not it's
grade.
Portland or
So
Seattle.
people seek that
Yeah.
out. We do, I believe we put it out on social media before, and that's what we were running into, but it is brought up at the community meetings.
So I'm a member of the DA's, what used to be the DA's opiate task force. I don't remember what the new term is, and I think that would be something.
You
that-
are part of the
that
opiate
would
task force, and you're
participate
talking
in some of
about
the
crocodile.
Information through the DA's office that is very helpful with that.
K2Me is a huge fan of Russian hard base.
The
That's where her
whole,
interest in crocodile
addiction
comes
thing
from.
is just crippling our community. And
Russian hard base
because,
is
you know,
sick,
I work
actually.
It's incredible. The video. I mean, I've gone down rabbit holes on YouTube that last days. It's some of the best entertainment out there.
Talk about people putting
When their pet bear makes a feature.
xylazine and fentanyl to cut
That's
the heroin.
the best part about
You know,
Russians
I'm
is
just
they
thinking,
just
you know,
morgue
whatever
every
happened
single
to
animal.
using, you know, just, you
They
know,
have pet
what
owls,
was it?
pet
Baby
foxes.
powder, I think.
Anything could be a pet in
Using-
Russia.
And cocaine. Now they're putting fentanyl in it. So it's, you know, why? You know, I mean, why would you do that?
I mean,
other
Sean
than
Murtha
to
just
tend
told you
to
why. It's
Yeah.
cheaper to
have a
cut with
stronger product that's potentially-
any of these
I don't know
illegal
why you'd wanna
adulterants than it
put
is baby
something out there that
laxatives.
would kill your
It's
customers, but
called capitalism, Kate.
you know, so I just don't understand that part of it. I think it's just crazy. It's bizarre. So,
You know-
at any rate, does anyone have any other questions on that?
They
I
are
think-
not
I think we should
answering that
definitely
one.
Yeah.
we're going to be having a citywide crime watch. You're going to come back to us with that. And I think at that crime watch, I think there were some comments that were made about educating people, and especially, you know, when it comes to educating people about reporting crimes. I think it would be great to do some PSAs on that
Kate Toomey is
Social
just
media,
mad that she has to use test strips
as
for her
well,
birthday chop.
as we come up, as well as maybe working with the DA's office and seeing what. can
It's
be
just a
done
little
about
bit of
it also.
fentanyl. You're fine.
This, the xylazine especially.
Just don't mix
that
it with
issue.
Xanax or
Just
whatever,
get that out there.
which might be
Go
an
ahead.
issue.
You
for
said that
her,
was the
so.
last question.
I'm sorry. No, it's just, I'm glad you brought that up with the community.
Kate does not like anybody else talking during her public safety meeting.
To find
Yeah.
ways to build a relationship.
This is my time with the
the
hunky
community.
boys.
I've worked with the police in several areas throughout the city. So when this crime stuff, this information comes out, I think it's important to get the community involved to show that, police officers are here to work with us and we're here to work together. I think
Does she realize she's on camera right now and she's kind of like, she's sneering over Rick Cipro?
Negative information,
Right.
and things like that, but to show that we're willing to work with each other in many areas and aspects throughout the city.
Mhm.
That's my last one.
You sure?
I'm
Going
sure.
once, going
That's
twice.
the birthday gift.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Oh,
Are
Mo
there any
Bergman.
comments? Oh,
I have no more questions.
oh, good. Are there any comments?
birthday,
from-
I think
Thank you. From anybody online?
Through the chair, it does not look like we have any participants online at this
Okay.
time.
I want to thank everyone here for their comments and the important information that you're sharing, and again, for all the hard work that you do every day. Thank you. It's the end of our
Through
committee
the chair,
meeting.
before we conclude, I just want to make sure, are you interested in filing item 4B?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Accept and file, yeah.
Thank you.
Do we need a roll call?
Through the chair, no, you do not need a roll call.
You know what? I just
Oh, yeah, to end the meeting, we need a.
Oh, to conclude, yes.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
so
Counselor Ojeda,
Yes.
there's
Counselor Bergman.
in this report.
Counselor Taylor.
I'll link the
Chairperson,
report.
Counselor
Maybe
Taylor.
somebody else
Yes.
can catch it.
Thank you very much.
Are they omitting possession charges from this, or have they just made no possession?
I think that
arrests?
I think it's the way that Kate may have written her original order, because Saucier answered her question starting with trafficking and then went into defining for Kate that there's a difference between trafficking intent and possession,
Right.
and trafficking, distribution, intent, and possession. It sounds like she may have asked the wrong question. I think she
Oh,
asked
okay.
about guns and trafficking specifically, not getting into possession charges. And I don't think
Okay,
he
so-
was willing to get in the weeds in correcting
Right.
her bad question.
Yeah, it's a pretty terse report. That was actually the most interesting part of this meeting. Is that
Ooh, hot mics.
oh,
friend and confidant for from Reba Greer.
Well, that was your biannual reminder that in the eyes of Kate Toomey, public safety only is police. It has nothing to do with EMS, fire, or anything else that might help save your life or better your existence in Worcester. So thanks for tuning in, guys.
We were
Yeah.
best friends from that evening on.
shut up! Shut up! Oh, it is shut up in the stream. I just have to pause it on my computer. I'm such a good producer. I know exactly what I'm doing all the time. Yeah, that was the most interesting part of that meeting for me was the way that Saucier let these counselors hang themselves out to dry on stupid questions. Like he wasn't bending over backwards to answer a stupid question. He just wouldn't answer it.
Yeah.
And oh, that's interesting. A syringe exchange. That's a good system. I like that.
I would be curious if that's because I don't know anything about Tennessee state law. I'd be curious if that's because Tennessee doesn't allow over-the-counter sales of needles.
Right.
We went hard in Massachusetts with disposal sites, but also because you can buy them retail, needles are really, really inexpensive.
That would be interesting, actually.
Because I know we were
That's-
talking about needle exchange for quite some time before we just said, okay, screw it. Let's just legalize over-the-counter sales of syringes.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of a no-brainer.
Interesting
Yeah,
experience too. Like if you're in line at Walgreens on Park Ave at like 2 o'clock in the morning to buy syringes to drain your cauliflower ear after training, you get really funny looks from both the people that are also at the pharmacy counter and the pharmacists themselves.
Over-the-counter sale of needles, Tennessee. Oh no, you can buy syringes over the counter
can,
in Tennessee.
okay.
So they're just doing both things, which is, yet again. Wait, there's one thing I want to take a look at here. I got to bring this back up. Where is it? I took a screen. Oh, right here. I got to bring this share screen. Where is it? Worcester Student Officer Guide. Okay. So Rick Cipro let it slip that a lot of Worcester police officers are failing.
Yeah. Or candidates. Yeah. I mean,
candidates.
30% of their applicants that are qualified from a testing perspective aren't able to do the physical side.
Right. Yeah. So 20, we'll say 20 to 29 is our main recruitment age, right? Because it's capped at 31.
Yeah.
All right. So, man, if you are under 30 and 26 push-ups in 1 minute is really not that much.
No, and again, not fitness shaming anybody. This is with prep, right? Like the idea is, almost a year in advance that you have to show up at a place on a day and someone's going to yell at you and make you bang out 26 push-ups in a minute. Like you've got time to work on it.
And also you're like you're the Imperial Occupation Force. Like that's the job you're showing up for. Like you should have a manner of physical fitness.
Yeah.
And then run 1.5 minute mile in 13:16, 300-meter run in a minute. I don't know I can't conceptualize 300 meters.
Yeah. What is that in freedom units?
Isn't it yards? Would it be yards? It's like 200 yards, 200-yard dash.
It's 984 feet.
So 300 yards.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
And a plank. Right. I mean,
the plank is
it's miserable, but I mean, we should do this while playing Fortnite some night. One of these nights, we'll do.
So
we'll do
pass.
a stream.
I know. See if we can pass the physical fitness challenge for the cops. I lost it. Where is it?
There we are. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were saying that it wasn't, I don't think it was 30% of cops are failing this. It's like the 30% threshold of physical fitness.
Okay.
The Cooper Institute norm. But he did say that a good number of cops are failing the physical fitness or recruits are. And could that be contributing to like the 68 officers that were down? Like if you don't pass this physical fitness stuff, does that preclude you from becoming a police officer?
I would love to be proven wrong about this. I think you and I have talked about this in the past, Bill, but I really would love to be proven wrong on this. But I think if you go back to the early 90s, the number of police officers that we have now is actually higher than what we had just before Bill Clinton came into office, along with his promise of bringing 250,000 new police officers onto the streets in the United States.
Right.
And if you take from 1992 to now, we're at retirement point for most of those folks, right? Like that. And you also have to keep in mind that at that time, when people were being hired in the early 90s, we had 11% unemployment in Massachusetts as a whole. I think Worcester was closer to 13, right? Like, I mean, you always are quick to point out that like the way muni government is very much a jobs program. There's no better example of how in the early 90s, when to be fair, we did have much more violent crime and there may have been call for a different form of policing at the time, but it was very much a jobs problem or program. We've hit the retirement point for a significant portion of those folks. And I don't think we should be surprised that people aren't excited about the idea of going into law enforcement as a career when, unemployment has been at historic lows for the last decade. COVID period, a little weird, but it's
Right.
these guys are acting as though I think that's, Cipro, if you give him the chance, he's always going to make the case that the reason nobody wants to be a police officer is because people said mean things about them in 2020.
Yeah.
There are huge economic factors in play that I feel like if Bill Clinton came into the White House promising 250,000 garbage men, we would be seeing a huge drop off in garbage people on the streets today, and we'd be having a hard time filling those jobs.
Yeah. You know what would be interesting, like bit of data journalism? The population of Worcester versus the number of police officers on the same chart, going from maybe like the 70s to today. That would be a pain in the ass to get together. But it would be sort of interesting to see that that Clinton bump that you're talking about. And then I have to imagine also like a post 9/11 bump. Where like Worcester's population is like this and the police is like this,
Yeah.
Like I can't do it on camera.
Well, no, and there is overlap there. It's interesting though that the timing between there was a bump of hiring in the wake of 9/11, but it also had more to do with a huge number of veterans coming out of the service as well, who were eligible to get veterans status when taking a civil service exam.
Right. I wonder how many potential recruits are being peeled off by the secret armies that Coca-Cola and Amazon and Google are raising. Like, do you think that like private security is like factoring into this? Because that would be interesting data to examine. Because I have to imagine that corporations are able to pay a lot better than cities for people to stand around with guns.
Yeah, and I mean, the private sector for security still tends to be heavy on recruiting from both current law enforcement and former military.
Yeah,
and I think people tend to get drawn towards the private sector because, I mean, Ruthos making a great point. I mean, the pay and benefits are good from a municipal perspective, but from a private sector perspective, they're not really that great.
no.
And I know Kate has made this argument a lot on the council floor that, we all grew up knowing people who they wanted in on government service because of the great pay and the great benefits. But again, Kate came up in a time where we always had double-digit unemployment in Massachusetts.
Right.
The late 70s through the early 90s were not fun, happy times to be an employee and looking for a job in Massachusetts in any sector. And if it wasn't for the public sector, our unemployment rates would have been even higher.
Check out this website I just found. Silent professionals, private security job market. View all jobs. Look at that. Long-term protection detail in California starts at 135,000. Protection agent in Northern Virginia. That's the most CIA coded job listing I've ever seen. Protection agent in Northern Virginia, $150,000 a year. Combat cameraman. Wow. Okay, I want that job. I'm gonna open a tab. I do that. Yeah, these are you get a lot of money doing that shit.
And because everything on in terms of search has been destroyed by AI now, and a Google search isn't actually a Google search anymore. I'm having a hard time actually finding starting salaries for them, but it looks like they start off around 50 grand a year.
Worcester police officers?
Yeah.
That seems low.
It does to me as well.
I wonder if like every...
It looks like now it might be 62. 62 is the starting.
Look at this very, very bleak listing I found. Not totally off topic, but combat cameraman media support for Russia. It's a contract job, $700 a day to be on the front lines of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. I don't think that's enough money. I don't think there's enough money in the world for that. That sounds crazy.
Wait, this is an actual job?
This is an actual job listing.
I don't like that it's on the Russian side. What website are you on?
Silent professionals, private security job market. They don't discriminate. I've been big into investigating and buying stocks for the defense industry and weapons manufacturers and stuff. They don't care who's shooting who, man. It's like they just need to make sure the shooting keeps happening, right?
It's a terrible movie, but the story is solid. But it's Lord of War is still one of my favorite like dark comedies about the arms industry, and it's because the storyline holds true. That we just saw this leaving Afghanistan, right? Like it costs way more to pack everything up and bring it home with you than it does just to sell it off to the highest bidder in a former some place that was a war zone the day before.
Right. Yeah, and it's like while you're over there, you're probably gonna traffic a little bit of drugs, right? Like you're not gonna go to Afghanistan and not traffic opium.
Yeah, and I mean, but you can't just blow up an arms depot, right? Like you got to sell everything off, and then we act surprised a couple of years later when a whole region is just flooded with the secondary market of trafficked arms.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. What do you say? Should we call it here?
We're good.
This was fun. It was shorter than I thought it would be, honestly, the meeting itself.
Everybody text Kate both happy birthday, but also she should do these more often to keep us entertained. This was nice.
Yes, this is very nice. It's just like great to see the counselors get out of their normal position of pretending like they have authority, and then when they get in front of the cops, they're just doting little children who just want to be praised. Yeah. Not one question was asked of the police department tonight on it. Also important to point out, not a single question that was more pressing than what more resources can we give you. So yeah, they should have. That's right. That's a good point, man. Talking about, they should have had little finger sandwiches, a little birthday cake. A little birthday cake with a drone candle. That would be nice. Yeah. All right. So when's our next stream? Our next stream is going to be Tuesday. There's a city council meeting on Tuesday. Let's look at the agenda. Ashland Doyle will have a preview of the school committee meeting next week up at some point. I'm going to have a post up that I was writing until like 4 a.m. last night up on probably Friday or Saturday, I think. And the Roast of Worcester is next Friday, March 22nd. Definitely want to attend the Roast of Worcester. Also, I only have like 2 jokes written right now. I think I need like 10. I went way too long last year, so I need to reel it back a little bit. I might yield the balance of my time, but if anyone has any good jokes about Worcester, send them my way. We can workshop them together. I don't want to give away my jokes right now, but one of them involves Kate Toomey. I feel like I might have a 50% Kate Toomey show. Talking trash, the Nitty Council. The trash petition. I don't remember the trash petition. What trash petition is this?
I don't know.
I don't remember any such thing. Oh, okay, I was pulling up the city's calendar here. We got let's see. City council meeting on Tuesday. We'll have the agenda for that meeting Friday night. If anyone's really chomping at the bit to read that, I don't know why you would be, because the city council is fake. And then Thursday, I think we have a school committee meeting on Thursday, but I'm not sure. I'm not positive. So anyways, we'll be streaming Tuesday and Thursday, 6 p.m. And then on Friday, we might have a stream of the Roast of Worcester. But
yeah,
not.
We're gonna make that happen.
We're gonna make it happen. All right,
I'm gonna make it happen. Gonna make it happen. Yeah,
we're gonna make it happen. That's great. That's great. Anything to plug before we get going?
I don't think so. No. I don't
All
have
right.
anything anyways. That's it.
Let's thanks for hanging out with us, everyone. This is a fun little time.
Yeah, we'll see
Fun
you
little
Tuesday.
short stream. I'm gonna go get some ice cream, I think.
Oh, beautiful night.
It's a beautiful night. Get outside and enjoy the last few minutes of sunshine if you can. It's a beautiful night out there. All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Take care. Have a good one.
And